Hebrews, Hebrews, Hebrews. This is the Prophets of Awakening. It's our Israelite Advanced Bible Study night, 23rd of July, 2024. We'll be reading out of the book of Nehemiah tonight. Okay. You can go to our YouTube channel, the Prophets of Awakening, and check out our videos. We have over 1,000 or so videos with a lot of information in it. These videos will connect dots for you and lead you to the truth of the Holy Scriptures. And if you like what you're hearing and receiving, I'm asking you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It'll be greatly appreciated. For those that want to support the channel and help it move along, we got our cash up at the bottom of the screen. Okay. We have hours of operation of Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Fridays from 7 to 9 p.m. Central Time. And on Thursday nights, we have our Women's Advanced Bible Study. Friday night, we have our Men's Advanced Bible Study, but it's on Clubhouse app. And the title of the room is Non-Messianic Conversation. So you want to check that out. And then we come back on Shabbat. We have 2 Shabbat classes. One in the morning from 10 to 12 a.m. Central Time. Then not the Shabbat at 6 to 7 in the evenings Central Time. Okay. So with that being said, for those that don't know, this is a non-Messianic channel. When we deal with the Tanakh and the Torah. The Tanakh being the Old Testament, so-called Book of Remembrance, and the Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament that was given to Moses by our Redeemer, Lord of Hosts. Shalom and welcome to this channel, and welcome to our advanced Bible study. Okay, we're going to do our normal, which is a moment of silence, prayer, psalms. I'll do some current events, a little need-to-know information. Then we'll open it up for some any questions or comments, dialogue, and then we go into our reading our topic for discussion, which is we'll be reading out of the book of Nehemiah. Okay, reading the scriptures and breaking them down. Okay, so with that being said, this moment of silence is for the Lord of Hosts and all that He's doing to bring about our prophesied deliverance in these last days. O Lord, righteousness and uprightness belongeth unto Thee. Therefore, we come before Thee at this hour, seeking Thy face, looking for righteousness and uprightness, that we may walk before Thee, as our servants David and Solomon, Samuel and Hezekiah did, that we may walk before Thee in truth and in righteousness and in rightness of heart. Give unto us, O Lord, an understanding heart, that we may discern between good and bad. O Lord, allow Thy face to shine upon Thy people. Hear our plea, hear and do, O Lord, and hide not Thy face from us any longer, for we need You so very much at this hour. Peace be unto You. Okay. So with that being said, I'll read the Psalms. Okay. I'll read okay. Psalm 70. Okay. It's a prayer for deliverance. Okay. Make haste, O God, to deliver me. Make haste to help me, O Lord. Let them be ashamed and confounded that seek after my soul. Let them be turned backwards, and put to confusion that desire my hurt. Let them be turned back for a reward of their shame that say, aha, aha. And let all those that seek Thee rejoice and be glad in Thee. And let such as love Thy salvation say continually, let God be magnified. But I am poor and needy. Make haste unto me, O God, Thou art my help and my deliverer. O Lord, make no tarry. Okay, so this is a Psalm of David, right? Notice in verse 2, he says, let them be ashamed and confounded that seek after my soul. So What is he talking about? Soul is what's the body is wrapped in the jacket. Body is the jacket, but the soul is within the body, which is consists of the five senses. That's why when the soul leaves, we have no motion or nothing in the body, because the soul is what brings the body to life. So when David says, "Let them be ashamed and confounded that seek after my soul, let them be turned backwards, and put the confusion that desire my hurt." So he's saying after he died. Let's look at that right quick. It's after he died, when the soul leaves. And we know from previous conversations that Adam's descendants, when they leave, when they die, because the spirit that's within them, it sins. But the people that came forth from the fallen angels and from Satan, they sold on the sin. It didn't come from heaven. It descends. That's why David says, those that go down to the bottom of the pit. But anyway, so we see in 2 Samuel, right? Right quick. 2 Samuel 22 says, David says in 22:4, I will call on the Lord who is worthy to be praised, and so shall I be saved from my enemies. And we're going to see who his enemies are. When the waves of death, same thing over there in the song, when the waves of death compassed me, floods of ungodly men made me afraid. So who is these ungodly men? The souls from the giants, right? 6, the sorrows of hell, because they went down to the pit. Sorrows of hell compassed me about. The snares of death prevented me. In my distress, I called to the Lord and cried to my God. He did hear my voice out of his temple, and my cry did enter into his ears. So when David passed, they tried to, those wicked spirits that Enoch tells us, that's how you get an evil spirit. You get a wicked spirit from when a giant passes away. The spirit didn't come from heaven, so it's bound on the earth. Enoch prophesied that these spirits would be bound to the earth until the time of the judgment comes. So they hear wandering spirits on the earth. That's how you get wicked spirits. So when David passed, knowing who he was, they try to hinder his soul from ascending. And they try to hold him here, hold him in the hell. And so David cried to the Lord. Lord came down and delivered him, scattered those wicked spirits, and he brought David up to, it says a large place, but that large place is where his forefathers at. So it tells you there's chambers in heaven where these the souls of these righteous go to. So he delivered David from those wicked spirits, and he ascended and went up to where his fathers is at, forefathers. In comments. Okay, so we go to some current events.
I want to give you this book for free.
Okay.
We saw a massive IT outage. This outage, because of CrowdStrike, this took down banks, this took down hospitals, airlines, businesses. It even took down the 911 call centers. This just wiped the United States. It was impacting many businesses in other countries. This was hurting millions and millions of people. There were people reporting that they couldn't buy groceries. They couldn't take money out of their bank. Their elective surgeries, they had to be postponed or canceled. This seriously took a toll on millions of people. But we are now hearing reports that the United States government wants more oversight. They want to ensure that something like this doesn't happen again, because what we know is that this potentially wiped out about $1 billion from the U.S. economy. Okay, $1 billion. Again, this was a simple mistake in an update to a system. This wasn't a cyber attack, but I want to address why this is such a big deal, what experts are saying, and why we should be concerned about what the United States could potentially do in the near future. So I'll break all this down in just a moment, but all I ask is one thing. It takes 2 seconds. Go ahead, hit that like button if you enjoy these daily updates. And now let's begin. So what exactly are the reports saying right now? Well, we still have many companies that are trying to get back on their feet. One of the reasons why is because this simple outage, this caused many companies to have to shut down operations. But the reason why this is delayed is because every single computer that was running this update, these computers had to be restarted manually. That takes time. But look at this. It says hackers are already taking advantage of the CrowdStrike outage chaos. We started learning this yesterday, and I saw a couple websites that were trying to get you to put in a little bit of information so that you can be protected. These scammers were trying to protect you. Okay, they created a website that if something like this were to happen, or you want to make sure that this doesn't happen to you ever again, right? Put in your information. They're going to put in a software so that it will prevent it from doing a quick little update. Guess what? They'll steal your information. Okay, they're going to hack into your system. They will steal from you. Now, don't fall for that. But here's the reason why I'm bringing this to your attention right now, because of this story. This is from MSNBC. It's an opinion piece, but this is something that I want to take to the next level, okay? It says why the mayhem caused by CrowdStrike failure could happen again. It says, how did a small mistake in a company most of us have never heard of create the mess we saw across the world Friday? Now, you may not have heard of CrowdStrike, but I believe CrowdStrike was the company that they used in the previous election, or the election between, I think, former President Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, I believe. That was a company that they used to dig into the voting, to make sure that there's nothing bad going on. So you may not have heard of this company, but they've been around for some time. Now, here's the reason why this is so important. One of the big things that happened on Friday is that businesses couldn't, just run. They couldn't operate. Retail stores, in many cases, they wouldn't accept a card. They wouldn't accept a debit card because their system was down, because of the computers and the software that they're using. They also, in some cases, wouldn't accept cash. And here's the other thing. Banks, you couldn't go to the bank and get cash because the banks were using the same software. So guess what the United States government wants to do? They want to use something called CBDC. It's called the Central Bank Digital Currency. Now, this is very similar to like the US dollar. It's a digital form of the country's fiat currency. Okay? So because of that, okay, it's a digital form. You could have access to it maybe from your phone. Okay? But here's why experts are concerned. Everything that we've been hearing, okay, you can't buy food. You can't buy medicine. You can't pay for gas. You can't pay for a rental car, a hotel, a flight. All these things you can't pay for because you can't use that plastic. You can't use the card. But could the United States use this event as a way to push CBDC forward? Could this be a way that the central bank decides, you know what, we need our own currency, something that we can control, not something that a third party is going to, have security over, that they are going to manage. The United States government will have full control. And so we will prevent any mistake like this from ever happening again. Okay? The reason why this is such a big deal is because we've seen this before. A major event happens, a potential disaster happens, and the U.S. decides to step in, intervene, and put in their own ideas. CBDC is not one of their new ideas. It's been around for some time, but they're looking for ways to implement it into our economy. Figure out a way to move away from what we are currently doing and go towards something that they can manage themselves. Now, this is going to give them a lot of insight as to how you spend. This will also give them an idea of where you are spending and should they limit your spending in certain areas. You're going to have all this information. But the reason why this is such a big deal now is because many experts are highly concerned that this little IT outage, and again, it was little, but it was also massive, and it was worldwide. If this were to happen on a grander scale, things would be devastating. And so how do we limit this? Well, we don't all go towards the same, checkout and same, point of sale systems. We go towards something else, right? We change it up. We diversify. That's what they're discussing. This is something that they've talked about before. Now, how is this going to impact you in the near future? Well, here's what I can tell you. I've talked to many people they're business owners that were only accepting cards. They would not accept cash. However, on Friday, many of them decided, we will now accept cash. Here's the problem. They decided they'd accept cash. The issue was they didn't have any cash to give in return. So think about this for a second. You go into a coffee shop, let's say Starbucks, for example, and Starbucks says, you know what? We do not accept cash. Okay, so they don't accept cash, but when they open up on Friday morning, or let's say tomorrow, they can't accept a card because their system's down, the power's out, whatever it may be. So they say, okay, we will accept cash today only. Here's the problem. If you pay with a $50 bill and let's say your change should be $44.50, guess what? You don't have any change. The business has no change. They can't give you anything in return, right? Because they don't have it. This is where some are speculating, saying that CBDC is likely going to be the next option, the next solution moving forward. We've seen all the talks regarding cryptocurrencies, but again, that's not something that's highly regulated. What the government wants to do is get involved. And this event that happened just this past week might be their ticket into the door. So.
Okay. Any comments on that? Anybody heard anything about that?
Shalom, everyone. I've heard about it, but that's like, I heard about it starting when they start speaking of the CDC, the digital banking system. And I think he's like repeating it, but it's getting closer now, I believe. It's getting really close.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay.
In this context of a more nuanced understanding of tyranny, please permit me to tell you a personal story. About 2 years ago, I gave a press interview in which I said that the Catholic Church in Nigeria had become too much about money. Any honest-minded person knows this is true. It is flagrantly, self-evidently true in so many churches all over this country. And the point of calling this out is so that church leaders might curtail this unchristian practice, which is driving people away from attending services.
Okay.
They could be watching.
Anyway, this criticism of mine appeared to upset quite a few church leaders, not all of them, because I think it is important to note that there are a few notable church leaders who are able to acknowledge the truth in constructive criticism. But it takes just one leader who is unable to take criticism to taint the perception one has of all leaders. Some months after I gave that interview, my mother died very unexpectedly. And this not long after my father had also died unexpectedly. In fact, I had by this time forgotten about that interview. But the priest in my hometown, a man called Christopher Eze, had not. And so at my mother's funeral, while my siblings and I sat in the front pew, our minds still in disbelief and our hearts broken with grief, this priest began to crudely and verbally attack me for daring to criticize the church. Later, his bishop, his superior, who apparently was also upset that I had dared to criticize the church for being materialistic, supported this priest. I spoke privately to a number of Catholics I respected about this incident, the sort of people who speak out boldly about government corruption. And I was struck by how quick all of them were to tell me, don't talk publicly about this, don't go public. A friend, who is no longer a friend, who is also very outwardly religious, told me that he would take me so that we could go and beg the bishop, so that the bishop would reprimand the priest, but quietly, behind closed doors, hush, 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 for the sake of peace. But I was not asking for peace. I was asking for justice. I wanted the bishop to do the right thing, to take responsibility, to reprimand the priest in the same public way that the priest had desecrated my mother's funeral, to set a precedence for consequences, and therefore make sure that no other priest would turn what is often one of the saddest days of a person's life into a venue for settling petty scores. Anyway, that did not happen. I can tell you that as I stand here, I am still filled with a shimmering, glowering, unending rage. But why did I choose to tell you this story? Because it made me realize how often in this country we sweep aside injustice in the name of peace. But it is always a fragile and hollow peace. Because as long as we refuse to untangle the knots of injustice, real peace cannot thrive. And so in the name of peace, we say things like, okay, just leave it. Okay, it's enough now. Okay, it was very bad, but you should just stop talking about it. Okay, just manage it now, we don't do. And by saying these, we continue to make mediocrity our norm. We fail to hold leaders accountable, and we turn we fail to hold leaders accountable, and we turn what should be transparent systems into ugly, opaque cults. My experience also made me begin to think that there is something dead in us, something dead in our society, a death of self-awareness, a death of self-reflection, a death of compassion, a death of intellectual curiosity, a death of the ability for self-criticism. And I think it is time for a collective resurrection, so to speak. We cannot refuse to practice self-criticism and yet criticize the government. We cannot ignore the abuses by our religious, our traditional, our community leaders, and focus only on the abuses of political leaders. We cannot want to hide our own institutional failures while demanding transparency from government institutions. The first question we must ask is, what is the right thing to do? Not what is the materially beneficial thing to do, or what is the institutionally beneficial thing to do, but what is the right thing to do? Because if we do not do this, if we continue to sweep away injustice for the sake of a hollow peace, then we will leave behind for our children and their children an utterly bleak inheritance.
Okay, yeah. So you're probably saying, while I'm playing this, well, this is like a real-renowned writer, speaker, and all that. This lady out of Nigeria, I think, but she came up against the Catholic Church, saying that, trying to expose.
You found a new hobby.
Trying to
So you're
expose it. So, you know, it just struck me that, you know, all the things are happening that's pertaining to the church and pertaining to the lie of the New Testament, and it's being attacked and exposed. Okay, any comment? Okay, yeah. So right here we got some need to know information. It's dealing with what happened over the weekend with Kamala Harris. Okay. See what we got. Shoot, I ain't acting up.
Betrayers of all kinds. Predators who abused women. Fraudsters who ripped off consumers. Cheaters who broke the
It's the new Kamala Harris.
rules for their own gain. So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type.
Kamala Harris coming out swinging, and she took center stage today.
Greetings, everyone. Greetings.
The VP has 122 million reasons to smile. A record amount of donations pouring in within 24 hours of Biden stepping down.
We love Joe and Jill. We really do. They truly are like family to us.
Biden, still in isolation due to COVID, called in to her campaign event.
I knew you were still there. You're not going anywhere, Joe.
I'm watching you, kid. I love you. Harris, who now has the support of enough delegates to clinch the nomination, rallied supporters with the party's renewed optimism.
When we fight,
But there's plenty of fight in the Trump campaign, with newly minted running mate J.D. Vance attacking the Democrats' late switch.
The idea of selecting the Democrat Party's nominee because George Soros and Barack Obama and a couple of elite Democrats got in a smoke-filled room and decided to throw Joe Biden overboard, that is not how it works.
Wow, just watching the fake news, and they're doing their very best to turn dumb as a rock Kamala Harris from a totally failed and insignificant vice president into a future great president. No, it just doesn't work that way.
I think he's scared to death for a couple reasons. Trump is a bully, he's a coward, but he's always had trouble with strong women. So I think they're going to struggle immensely to run against her. The fight's already turned nasty with a spike in false claims Harris is ineligible because her parents were born overseas. And then there's this gem from Trump ally Sebastian Gorka.
This woman this disaster whose only qualification was having a vagina and the right skin color.
Mr. Massey, let me interrupt you. That's pretty unkind language about the Vice President. This is an accomplished lawyer and senior politician, and the Vice President of your country. Do you wish to take back that rather sexist remark?
No.
So is the Trump camp as confident as it claims, or are these attacks a sign they're worried?
I'm watching.
We're live from the lands of the Cooler Nation, and Jason Osborne was an advisor to Donald Trump in his 2016 presidential campaign and joins us now. How worried are you? Or how worried are Republicans right now?
Honestly, I don't think Republicans are all that worried right now. I mean, I think you've got, it's enjoyable to watch this show from the opposite side. If you go back to 2016, in October, when everybody wanted Donald Trump out of the race. And so the Republicans were scared about whether Donald Trump could beat Hillary Clinton with all the scandals surrounding Donald Trump. And now Republicans are sitting back and watching the Democrats kind of implode. What you're seeing right now with Kamala Harris is a lot of public support for her, but it's only because Joe Biden is out of the race. And then you give it another week or so, and then people are going to start focusing on Kamala and her record and what she brings to the table. And I think everything will kind of settle down, and then we're in a head-to-head race.
Well, one key difference with the race now is that Kamala Harris is a woman. This election is taking place in the aftermath of the overturning of Roe v. Wade. It's a very specific context. Democrats think that's going to galvanize the female vote, that they'll come out in numbers because of that, and that could influence the election. Do you think that's a worry for Trump?
You know, when you look at a presidential campaign in the United States, you look at how to get 270 electoral votes. And when you look at the map and you see the states where, you know, the abortion issue is really going to play a key role in the election, and it's predominantly split on the red states and the blue states. But when you narrow down to the states that Donald Trump lost this last election and that he had won in the previous election, the abortion issue kind of, it's up there in terms of intensity and getting the vote out. But I think at the end of the day, if the economy is where it is today, that's much better for Donald Trump than it is for Kamala, despite the fact that abortion may turn out more women than men.
There's been a lot of talk about how much Trump has changed since the assassination attempt, that he's more measured or more mellow. Do you think that's true?
There's a side to Donald Trump that a lot of people don't witness, because there's a live Donald Trump and then there's a behind the scenes Donald Trump. He is much more empathetic behind the scenes. At the convention last week, I had the opportunity to talk to him after he gave his speech, and you could see in his eyes there was the realization how close he came to actually not even being there, and how he talked to a number of people, not only myself, but others around me. There was a certain, humbleness about him. And I don't know if that's going to translate out into, his campaign speeches or certainly debates. But you could definitely sense that he has dialed it back a little bit.
Until he gets on Twitter. And he tweets, like after when Joe Biden pulled out of the race, he went on a bit of a tear and called him the worst president in history. So is it a bit hard to square that with the idea that Donald Trump has dialed back a bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was one of the biggest struggles in 2016 working on the campaign, is waking up every morning, because he tended to get up about, an hour or two before any of us on the campaign. And the first thing we would do was look at Twitter and figure out, oh God, what did our boss just say? And figure out how do we explain that throughout the day. And I think we all just kind of came to the realization that you got to let Trump be Trump. He's a showman. He feeds off of the energy in the crowd. The words that he puts out there, they don't really make a lot of sense sometimes. And so then you have to kind of parse through that and figure out what exactly it is that he means.
Okay, so we say that Kamala Harris broke the record in fundraising just since the weekend, just since they proclaimed her to be the nominee. She broke the funding record within, I think, one day. $122 million. Anybody any comments on that? What do you think?
Shalom. Like you said, it's record breaking. Just in one day after the announcement that he's going to step down and she's going to step up. That is it's something that no one has done yet, you know. I mean, and being that it's a lady that's running for president, that shows volumes around who all supporting her. Is it just, you know, it's more than just one ethnic group is supporting her or one gender is supporting her with this.
Right. Anybody
Shalom,
else?
everyone. Yes, sir. Shalom. Um, the same thing I've heard too. You know, they've had big fundraisings for her. The
Right.
sorority groups. You know, these big Zoom calls and so forth. So they have been, you know, putting out money for her, a lot of money, um, which was expected from me. I don't know about anybody else, but I was really expecting that.
Exactly. And it's like a big propaganda media show going on
Hmm.
because they're playing that assassination attempt to get a boost for Trump. But then they sit there, they waited until after that. When after that happened, then they came out with Biden stepping down and McConnell coming up in order to. They didn't want their assassination attempt to overshadow when they finally came out with Biden going down. So now in this next video I show you, now she got the lead in the polls. But like I was saying before, I was talking to somebody a day or two ago how that that was like Dingus come. You know how the Dingus those Asians would they invented that the as a tactic where you act as if you are frightened, and they would flee, and they'll get the army. They'll get the army to run behind them, thinking that they're afraid of them. They flee from them, but they actually sucking them into a trap. And then when all of a sudden they turn back, and so those Turkish people, Genghis Khan, they was good at that. So I was telling them how that role she was playing as vice president, not being involved in nothing, stepping back, playing a dumb role, that was all Hollywood. Because now she coming out like a attack dog. So now she got another role to play. And so they had everybody was fooled on the fact that thinking that, oh, this dumb black chick that she don't know how to deal with politics. But that was a role they said that they had her playing that role. Because you got to look at it. Her life adult life is a prosecutor. So that role, that spirit she was showing, it don't add up with you being a prosecutor. Because a
Right.
prosecutor is a tech dog. But so now the real person, which is that Trump can't deal with her with no debate. He's running from her now because he all it takes now is the boost she already got, and then they have a debate, and she crushed him in a debate. That's it. And like I said, look at the time. They set it up for just 90 days. Because that's all they need with AI and all the propaganda machines they got. All they need is 90 days. We push her right in the White House. But anyway, let's check this
Right.
out. And so they've been set up. And like I said before, this was going to bring about the Civil War. Right, so let's check this out.
Today is Tuesday, July 23rd, 2024, and today the Democratic Party just got a piece of news that they have desperately wanted over the past 6 months, and that is a new national poll showing Kamala Harris with a 2-point victory over former President Trump in a head-to-head matchup in the first set of...
This was yesterday. This how they set them up.
Polls being released since the announcement of President Biden's departure from the race and Vice President Harris's winning of the nomination and assuming the role of the Democratic nominee for this coming November. Now, Reuters and Ipsos have been doing polls for months on end now about the 2024 presidential election. For a bit of context, 2 weeks ago, they saw a poll that showed Kamala Harris tied, running even, with former President Trump. It also showed President Trump defeating President Biden by roughly 2 percentage points. In what is largely seen, a 2-point swing from the results just 2 weeks ago and a 4-point swing in the performance compared to President Biden, Reuters and Ipsos give Kamala Harris her first victory in any set of polls that we've seen conducted over this election cycle. Now, Democrats should look at this and say that this isn't exactly the place that they would like to be in November, but certainly is a far better starting point than where they were with President Biden. With all this conversation around polling, it is clear today that President Biden does in fact perform worse than President Trump. And while that wasn't, then Vice President Harris. And while that wasn't as consistent as before, we can see that in the head-to-head matchup here, it seems to be running now, Kamala Harris running ahead 1.5% better than where President Biden was when he ended his bid. Now, this won't be the perfect metric to take a look at. We will have far more factors impacting whether Harris would do better than Biden, but from here on out, we can use that final standing point for President Biden against President Trump, a 3.1% advantage that the former president had over the incumbent president, as a standing metric to see where Democrats have come from the initial announcement of President Biden leaving the race. Now, Kamala Harris being up 2 points in the recent poll does conflict with the average we've seen over the past month. But the good news for Democrats is that in practically all of the polls conducted since the announcement of Harris into the race, just two, Morning Consult and Reuters and Ipsos, show roughly a tie between the two contenders, far better than being down 3 points nationally. The good news, too, Morning Consult actually conducted a poll before, showing Donald Trump with a 1-point advantage over Kamala Harris that has expanded to 2 points. But when you compare it to President Biden, you can see that the numbers were getting far worse for him over this period of time. For instance, Morning Consult had Trump up by 2 against President Biden, but the most recent Morning Consult one had Trump up by 4. And so again, as a point of comparison, running ahead of Biden by roughly 2 points, and there's roughly a 1.5% advantage here, goes to show that while it may not be as strong as it was for Harris a week, 2 weeks ago, we also see Reuters and Ipsos contending with that. The same poll that they released that showed Donald Trump ahead that now show Kamala Harris leading Donald Trump. So we're in a really unique scenario where we have far few polls in the early stages of this introduction to a presidential bid, but it's not bad news for Kamala Harris. She's in a position where being ahead 44 to 42.
Okay.
Well, you know you have choices when it comes to home improvement products.
Is probably a very good starting point for someone who has had no national structure, no national campaign. I get it. She was the vice president, but I'm becoming more and more of a believer in the fact that Kamala Harris has room to grow where Donald Trump has largely hit his ceiling. And the reason why I was initially apprehensive about that was because Kamala Harris, for all intents and purposes, had a nationalized brand, but as the vice president, never as the VP, as the presidential nominee, never as someone who was taking the helm of the ticket. And the most we ever saw in consideration that Kamala Harris was, actually running the White House was right-wing speculation from Fox News and One American News Network and Newsmax and different organizations. But grounded in reality, it was very obvious that Kamala Harris was not calling the shots in the administration or in the campaign. But now that has changed. Kamala Harris is at the helm of everything. And it is clear that there is a lot of enthusiasm behind her as we see that donations have now topped $100 million for just the Harris campaign. I made a video yesterday talking about how Democrats have raised $100 million. That is true, but now Kamala Harris has raised $100 million. Yesterday, 81% of that $100 million went to Kamala Harris. This time around, you're seeing that you're finding that Kamala Harris herself has raised over $100 million. So a pretty good standpoint, a pretty good position to be for Kamala Harris by every metric. I mean, this is phenomenal in terms of fundraising data. It actually finds it to be even better for Harris, which again extends to this point that she has not yet hit her ceiling and that she has far more room to grow than President Biden. We also see too that fundraising isn't just happening from different sides of the left. You're seeing targeted campaigns from the Democratic Party to fundraise amongst different minority groups. Kamala Harris, in this instance, raised a lot of money on a Zoom meeting yesterday and the day before with Black women across the country. Now, Black men are doing a lot of fundraising for Kamala Harris. Very, very strong for the incumbent vice president. Not to mention that it isn't just minorities that are being targeted. Swing states are being targeted too. Now, Democrats are seeing a 100 times increase in daily signups for the Kamala Harris campaign compared to what they saw on the daily average for President Biden, meaning that Kamala Harris is seeing thousands upon thousands, 28,000 people have announced that, or not announced, signed up in the past 24 hours, 48 hours to work for the Kamala Harris for President campaign. That is quite significant. I mean, you're talking a huge chunk of people, and where are they coming from? The campaigns are targeting swing states, and swing state voters and people are signing up to be in this position, to work for Kamala Harris, to open a field office, to get people to the ballot box, to get people engaged in the election. It's unlike anything Democrats have seen this election cycle, and they should be quite excited about it. Now, when you also take a look, too, at what we're finding on the left, is that there's a unification. There is a full and total endorsement of Kamala Harris from members of the left wing. Delegates are saying Kamala Harris is going to be our nominee, and guess what? Delegates secured her the spots to get the Democratic nomination. Now, because Joe Biden has withdrawn himself from the race, it allows all of his delegates to remain in this, what we call to be, in theory, an open convention, but a first round of voting, meaning they can choose a nominee quickly and easily without any external nominations or any type of drama at the convention. It's going to be pretty simple for Kamala Harris to get through here as long as she had the numbers. Well, now national numbers show across the nation, Kamala Harris has enough votes. She has enough delegates to secure this nomination. It'll be a one and done. The round one will happen and nothing else will happen. So Democrats are in a very strong position to nominate Kamala Harris, make her go from the VP nomination to the presidential nomination. And this is something that we rarely ever see, which is a complete and total unification of Democratic leadership, Democratic staffers, Democratic representatives, whoever it might be. It is very rare. And we even saw it with President Biden, who sought to run for re-election himself, faced opposition within his own party. Representatives across the country called for him to step down. Senators called for him to step down. Major contenders from past elections, past presidential races have found themselves in positions where now they're up in the air about President Biden. But he put all that to rest by saying, I'm stepping down from the race, Kamala Harris will take my spot. Now here she comes in. It secures enough endorsements, and it looks like the Democratic Party is entirely unified. Now on the point of fundraising, which I want to get to electability in just a moment, and the whole idea of bringing in a new VP, ActBlue ticker has been tracking contributions over the past 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours. In fact, they've been tracking ActBlue since September 2020. Well, on the 21st of July, marked the second highest day in fundraising in Democratic Party history. The day after was even higher. Kamala Harris announced that she would be taking up the role as the presidential nominee. Joe Biden stepped down on July 21st. So in just 3 days, Democrats have raised, since the announcement of President Biden, $128 million. I kid you not, $158 million nationwide. What an insane number. But one that
Okay, so we had this conversation. I think it was the on 13th of July, and I was saying how that Kamala Harris and Michelle was gonna come out, and it was a setup. They didn't set the Republican Party up. So when you look at this, I continue to say it over and over again about these Edomites. Notice that she married to an Edomite, right? And so when they the whole time you thinking that everything they had going on with Biden and what they were saying, you're thinking that they throwing it at the public, but they're not throwing it at the public. They're throwing it at the Republicans, lawmakers, because in our actuality, people can't vote, people can't choose a nominee, and then all of a sudden, because of the party don't want them, the party can't just throw them away and then get somebody else. So they set this whole scenario up, like that when they put Biden in a debate against Trump, knowing that he wasn't going to perform right, and then they came and said that he wasn't fit to be there. So they said they weren't throwing it at the public, they throwing it at these Republicans, lawmakers on the other side. And then finally he acted like he didn't want to know, and then they're going back and forth. Now we see soon as he did get out of it, and they endorsed Kamala Harris, all of a sudden all the Democrats, they were supposed to be at odds with each other. All of a sudden they all rallied behind Kamala Harris. That was the trick from the whole time. And like I said before, you got to look at it. Because how was it going to be anybody else but her? Because the blacks, Americans, the black voters were fleeing like flies. They were fleeing like flies away from Joe Biden. And now all of a sudden, look, with one move, everybody returning. All the blacks, everybody coming now. So it was the whole thing was to throw the lawmakers on the other side, the Republicans in the cross, because they watching. So that's what that was all about. And like I said before, with the technology you have today, they don't need us. All they need is 90 days. That's gonna be just enough time running right into the White House. And so you ain't really seen nothing yet. You're gonna see the rappers, the boule, and all these people get behind them, and that propaganda machine, Hollywood machine, can get behind. Okay, here go an example right here. Okay.
I got something I want to yell. My dream team is Kamala and Michelle. Ring the bell, ring the bell. Yes. Kamala and Michelle. Yes. You don't want this country to go to hell. Kamala and Michelle. Now listen very carefully. I don't know what they're going to do. But come November, we got to vote blue. We will not fold, nor will we take a step back. Why? Because democracy itself is under attack. Ring the bell! It's Kamala and Michelle! It's Kamala! I love myself. And Michelle!
Okay, there's some. So that's just a taste of what's coming. When they finish, the Republicans gonna run with their tail tucked between their legs. It's gonna be over. Okay. Anybody got any comments, questions before we move forward?
No, sir.
Anybody else? Yeah. So keep your eyes open. They finna do a number on the
Shalom.
public. Okay.
They got the right person, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
All mouth.
Oh yeah. Ain't that something? Just like Martin Luther King, big mouth. Oh yeah. And they got some more out there too. They got, the girl, she behind Kamala Harris and Biden. What her name? Taylor Swift.
Really?
Oh yeah. That's what Trump. Her and Trump got a thing going back and forth because she with Trump. I mean, she with Biden. So they got all these music industry, the rappers, and all these people, the athletes, when they get behind there, they're gonna shut it down, man. Check it out.
Shalom. Also, one of the CEOs, or I forgot her position, for Walt Disney, she said if she will pull out if Biden doesn't step down. Now that Biden stepped down, now she's going to be behind them Democrats.
Well, yeah, it's all. You got to look at another thing too, and you can see the hand of Esau. Or like I said, when you understand how he operate, you got the two main struggles in America being women's rights and blacks' rights. Now look what we got. Got a black woman. That's two-thirds of the vote right there. And then on top of that, they overturned Roe versus Wade, and that's a women's rights thing. So they doomed. It's over. They gonna play on that. It's over. It been set up. This was gonna bring the Civil War right here. So they thought they had it. They thought they had it in the bag when Joe Biden bombed that thing, and how they was already thought it. They had already had the Bible ready for Trump to do his inauguration speech. But all hell finna break loose. So they finna do a number on them.
Shalom. They pulled the okie doke, like the that Trojan horse
Oh yeah.
kind of deal on them. Yes, sir.
Oh yeah. And like I said, it was the thing. The insulting part about it is, it was like from a political perspective, they duped them. Like I said, they wasn't trying to impress the public or trying to do anything with the public when they did that with their debate and all this stuff, like they falling apart. It was all thrown in at them. And now it came back, and then now they see it, now that it's unfolded, they feeling a certain type of way. Like you already seen what they did in January 6th. That wasn't nothing. They're gonna go slap nuts. When this time when they see the plan and it totally come to fruition and they lose, oh man. Wait till they announce the vice president. Come on.
Right. And didn't Gerald Ford say this? Exactly what you're saying, Brother Leonard. Gerald Ford said it, about what can happen when there's a woman president. He told you how a woman president was going to come about. On The Simpsons, it showed you a woman president. So and Gerald Ford was saying they in trouble when that woman president come about. He said that.
Oh yeah. And that's exactly what it is. They set it all up. Because like I said, she wasn't going if when she just come through the system, she wouldn't have won. So all this was set up a long time ago. And yeah. They had to be like this.
Right.
Like I said, you got to go back to a district attorney. Come on. You're pro at debates. You're a lawyer. And then on top of it, a district attorney. And then they already told you that she was a pit bull in California, even though it was against black folks. But she's a pit bull. So the whole time she was playing a role, like sitting back like she's so docile. That was what they wanted to do. That's what they had to do. Yeah.
Shalom. Like when she was running for president and all those candidates was up there running for president, she was most likely, but they had, what's her name? Hillary. Everyone was up there, but they know Hillary wasn't going to win. But they put them in, strategically put her up there along with Booker and all the other ones, to let them know it, and he picked her. Not Warren, not Elizabeth Warren. He could have picked, someone, that was up. He can even picked Hillary Clinton as her, vice president, but he did not. So, like you said, it was something they already had all this here in the works in the playbook. They're playing out this playbook that they got.
Yeah, they're not. They're actors. And like I said before, you got to look at when you start looking at from a global or nationwide perspective, and look on after everything unfolded. None of those people, those candidates, was fit for what they just done. It had to be, like I said, you got the women's rights, which is a major issue in America from its beginning, which is a boiling point, and you got civil rights. So they had to be a black woman to cover all that, and that's there it is. Now everything making sense, and then like I was saying before, then they set up with Michelle Obama. They made her popular, and you say, what you talking about? Well, look at Kayla Clark. She ain't shit, But look what the media did with her. Come on, she ain't hitting on nothing. But they done made her a superstar just off of the media, pasting her everywhere you go on her face everywhere you go. It's women that run circles around her, but all you see is Caitlin Clark. They did the same thing with Michelle Obama. So now they're gonna get a double whammy of the same portion, two black women. Like the lady just said, you don't want the country to go to hell, then you better take these two women right here, Kamala and Michelle. The setup. Now they finna put the icing on the cake with these, like they do with everything else, bring the Negroes in with the singing and the tap dancing and all that. They finna finish them off. And that's what's gonna bring this January 6th crowd back out again. But there ain't gonna be no stopping them this time. You got to knock them in the 80s.
Shalom. Yes, I think they're gonna start working. I don't know where the lady who was singing that song, what state she was from, but they're gonna start working on those swing states to, for as the um, electoral votes, they're gonna work on those swing states to get them more involved with, just like this is tap dancing and all that, singing and doing whatever they have to do just to take over. Because they want to make it's probably a landslide, and then that's to get the others to, really go for it.
Right. So like I was saying, you got the woman that's the woman's rights. When you look at it, they feel like they've been wrong in America. They constantly have to fight for their rights. The black folks have to fight for their rights. The black man, right there, that's it. That's how Biden won. You get 85, 90% of those people. That's it. No matter, don't need nothing else. That's how Trump lost. He jumped out in the beginning because they was in all those little white states, and he jumped out with the lead. But at the end, they started tallying up all those votes from Negroes out of Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, all that, and they wiped him out. That's the exact same thing. He'd already seen from the donations, the money she raised. She getting way more than I think that was 70%. Biden got of all the blacks or that demographic. She getting way more than that. They know exactly what they was doing from Jump Street. And these folks, they gonna go slap crazy. When it's all said and done. Well, yeah. Ain't that something?
Yes, sir.
Talked about that. Like I said, I can't get to it, but I think that was the 13th women's. That was our women's band Bible study on the 13th of July when we was talking about Michelle Obama and Kamala Harris going to be on the ticket.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So we'll go to our topic for discussion. I'm in Nehemiah. There's a few things in there I saw I wanted to talk about. Nehemiah chapter 1. Yeah. You want to read that, Michelle?
Yes, sir. Nehemiah chapter 1. The words of Nehemiah, the son of Hakaliah. And it came to pass in the month of Chislew, in the 20th year, as I was in Shushan the palace, that Hanani, one of my brethren, came he and certain men of Judah, and I asked them concerning the Jews that had escaped, which were left of the captivity, and concerning Jerusalem. 3. And they said unto me, the remnant that are left of the captivity therein in the province are in great affliction and reproach. The wall of Jerusalem also is broken down, and the gates thereof are burned with fire. And it
So let's
came
look
to
at that.
pass.
So let's look at that right there. So
Yes, sir.
hold that and go to Jeremiah right quick. Go to the book of Jeremiah. Because this is where a lot of people get lost there, because when they get once you show them this right here, it's on you after that when you start to see what's really going on. So I'm in Jeremiah chapter 24. Okay, let me get it. Tripping, man. Okay, dang. Jeremiah 24. Okay. Jeremiah 24. Okay. You look at that. Okay, this is the lesson for the good and bad figs. I want to show you how this all add up. Now notice this Jeremiah go before them, because Jeremiah prophesied they was in captivity, Nehemiah in captivity. So Jeremiah go before Nehemiah, but look how where they got Jeremiah at. But anyway, chapter 24, it says, this is the lesson of the good and the bad fig. The Lord showed me, and behold, 2 baskets of figs were set before the temple of the Lord. After that, see that? After that, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, had carried away captive Jeconiah, the son of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, and the princes of Judah, with the carpenters, the smiths from Jerusalem, and had brought them to Babylon. So this is the prophecy. So it's no way in hell that Nehemiah is in front of Jeremiah. Nehemiah go behind, because we just read Nehemiah is in captivity, and he's a cupbearer. So this after he in Babylon. So it says, verse 2, 1 basket had very good figs, even the figs that are first ripe, and the other basket had very naughty figs, which could not be eaten. They were so bad. Then said the Lord unto me, what seest thou, Jeremiah? And I said, figs, the good figs, very good, and evil. And the evil, very evil, that cannot be eaten. They are so bad. So it's 2 baskets of figs. So now I want to show you something. It's 2 baskets of figs. In verse 4, and again the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, thus said the Lord, the God of Israel, like these good figs. See that? The basket of good figs. So will I acknowledge them that are carried away captive of Judah, whom I have sent out of this place into the land of the Chaldeans for their good. So what is he talking about? Daniel. Daniel's a good fig. That's why he in Babylon. Nehemiah, a good fig. Ezekiel, all them that's part of they in the basket of the good figs. That's why they in Babylon. Now look what he say about the bad fig. 6, for I will set my eyes upon them for good, and I will bring them again to the land, and I will build them and not pull them down, and I will plant them, not pluck them up, and I will give them a heart to know me. See that? So if you got a heart to know the Most High, he did it. So ain't nothing you do. So he says, I will give them a heart to know me, that I am the Lord, and they shall be my people, and I will be their God, and they shall return. See that? They're going to come back. They came back with Zerubbabel unto me with their whole heart. Now here you go. And as for the evil figs, which cannot be eaten, they are so evil. Surely, thus says the Lord, so will I give Zedekiah, king of Judah. So Zedekiah stayed there. He stayed there in Jerusalem. He was a king that Nebuchadnezzar made king. The one that the Lord had chose, Nebuchadnezzar took to Babylon. But Zedekiah, he made Zedekiah the king over the evil basket. So look at this. The king of Judah, his princes and his residue of Jerusalem that remain. See that? The ones that stayed there, that remain in the land, and them that dwell in the land of Egypt. I will deliver them to be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth for their hurt, right? to be a reproach and a proverb, a taunt and a curse in all places whither I shall drive them. And I will send a sword, famine, pestilence among them, till they be destroyed, consumed from the land that I gave unto to them and to their father. So the ones that stayed there was the wicked feed. The good feed he sent to Babylon, right? And so he gonna send a sword and all this stuff, pestilence at the ones that stayed there until ain't none of them left. So now let's go back to Nehemiah. You in Nehemiah?
Yes, sir.
So
Nehemiah
verse
chapter. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
to chapter 1, verse 1, you just read, it says the words of Nehemiah. We know Nehemiah in Babylon, so he's a good feed. He had a good basket. Nehemiah, the son of Hilkiah, and it came to pass in the month of Chesim in the 20th year, as I was in Shushan, the palace. Now here you go, check it out. Nehemiah in the Shushan in the palace, right? And then it says that Hananiah, look at this, Hananiah, one of my brethren, came, he and certain men of Judah. They came from Jerusalem. So what is that? Wicked feed. See that?
Yes, sir.
So that's a wicked feed. So Hilkiah seen them. It says, Hannah and one of my brethren came. They came from Jerusalem. He and certain men of Judah. Now watch this. And I asked them concerning the Jews that had escaped. That's the wicked feed. That's still in the land, right? Watch this. Which were left. See that? They didn't come to Babylon. Was left of the captivity and concerning Jerusalem, right? Then 3. And they said unto me, the remnant that are left of the captivity there in the province are in great affliction. I said, what he just told us in Jeremiah?
Yes, sir.
The sword gonna chase them. So when Nehemiah asked them, hell, they ain't but one answer. They in great affliction. The Most High already prophesied it through Jeremiah. That he was gonna bring pestilence and sword until he got rid of them. But he sent the good feed to Babylon. So you see that right there? You got all these Negroes hollering about the Most High gave them some kind of mandate. No, he ain't gave you no mandate. He gonna do it. So I mean, that's Christian bullshit. Anyway, where you at? Chapter 4? I mean, verse 4?
Verse 4, yes, sir. Nehemiah
Okay.
chapter 1, verse 4. And it came to pass when I heard these words that I sat down and wept and mourned certain days and fasted and prayed before the God of heaven and said, I beseech thee, O Lord God of heaven, the great and terrible God that keepeth covenant and mercy for them that love him and observe his commandments. Let thine ear now be attentive and thine eyes open, that thou mayest hear the prayer of thy servant, which I pray before thee now, day and night, for the children of Israel, thy servants, and confess the sins of the children of Israel, which we have sinned against thee. Both I and my father's house have sinned. 7. We have dealt very corruptly against thee, and have not kept the commandments, nor the statutes, nor the judgments, which thou commandest thy servant Moses. Remember, I beseech thee, the word that thou commandest thy servant Moses, saying, if ye transgress, I will scatter you abroad among the nations. But if ye turn unto me and keep my commandments and do them, though they were of you cast out unto the uttermost part of the heaven, yet will I gather them from thence, and will bring them unto the place that I have chosen to set my name there. 10. Now these are thy servants and thy people thou hast redeemed by thy great power and by thy strong hand. O Lord, I beseech thee, let now thine ear be attentive to the prayer of thy servant and to the prayer of thy servants who desire to fear thy name and prosper. I pray thee, thy servant this day, and grant him mercy in the sight of this man, for I was the king's cupbearer. That was Nehemiah chapter 1.
So now let's break this down. Now, like I said, look where we at. So it ain't nothing new under the sun. And we found out who the Redeemer is.
Yes, sir.
Don't we know what his name is?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
All
We
praises.
at the end. It's time for us to leave. So look what it says in verse 11. O Lord, I beseech thee, let now thy ear be attentive to the prayer of thy servant and to the prayer of thy servants who desire, look at this, who desire to fear thy name. Out there, you're going to fear his name, you don't know what it is, who he is. See that? Now you see what he's doing? Now he told us. In the last days, he's going to pour his spirit out on us, and it's a remnant that's going to understand, know his name, and that's the only way he's going to return. So he says, thy name and prosper. And I praise thee, thy servant, this day, and grant him mercy in the sight of this man, for I was cupbearers. Now let's go back up to verse 6. Let me get it. Okay, verse 5 says, and I said, I beseech thee, O Lord, God of heaven, the great and terrible God, that keepeth covenant and mercy for them that have loved him and observe his commandments. Let thy ear now be attentive and their eyes open, that thou mayest hear the prayer. See that? The prayer of thy servant. This is Nehemiah, the good thief, out of the good thief, good bad. Which now look at this, which I pray before thee this day, and day and night. Day and night. So that means continuously. That's another thing they told us off on. We think we can get on our knees and pray for 15, 10, 20 minutes. We think we had a hell of a prayer. But you got to press in, continuously pray until the Most High do what He's gonna do. That's what I was saying about being persistent, pressing in. So he says, and I pray before thee now, day and night, for the children of Israel, thy servant, and confess thy sins of the children of Israel, which we have sinned against thee. Both I and my father's house have sinned. So look at it. So this Nehemiah, that's a good thing, right? So he pressed in. He prayed to the Lord, and he prayed in. Now notice what he did. He confessed the sins of the nation of Israel, right? Fasted. Now watch this. Go to the book of Daniel. Hold that page. We're going to read one more chapter. So go to the book of Daniel. Okay. Like I said, everybody want to know what it is that we have to do, right? Okay. Chapter 9. You got it? Daniel 9, chapter 9?
I'm there. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
We just saw what Nehemiah did. One man. Just like Moses, one man. Now, we saw what Nehemiah did. Here we go. It's Daniel. In the first year of Darius, the son of Ahasuerus, of the seed of the Medes and Persians, which was made king over the realm of the Chaldeans, in the first year of his reign, I, Daniel, understood by books the number of years wherefore the word of the Lord came unto Jeremiah the prophet, that he would accomplish 70 years in the desolation of Jerusalem. So right here, okay, we know they tricked our books off. But look what Daniel got. Then you got to, in order for him to understand what was going on, he had to have the book of Jeremiah, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so they tricked our books off, but we in the last days, we got to have the books. So he brought the books back. But in order for us to do what Jeremiah did, we got to have the books. That's why they coming out from everywhere now. So look at this, verse 3. And I set my face, after he seen what Jeremiah had said in the book, and I set my face unto the Lord thy God. Same thing over here. Nehemiah doing. And I set my face unto the Lord God, to the Lord God. See that? Not Jesus, to the Lord God, to seek by prayer and supplication with fasting, sackcloth, and ashes. Same thing Nehemiah did. And I prayed unto the Lord my God, and I made my confessions. Same thing Nehemiah did. And said, one man, O Lord, the great and dreadful God. Same thing Nehemiah said, keeping the covenant, right? And mercy to them that love him. That's a good basket. And to them that keep thy commandments. We have sinned. The same thing Nehemiah said. And I have committed iniquity. And we have committed iniquity and have done wickedly and have rebelled, even by departing from thy precepts and from thy judgments. Neither have we hearkened to thy servants, the prophets, which we spake in the name of our kings and our princes and our fathers, and to all the people of the land. So we see this is how we get out of here. And we see how he over here, he did it with Nehemiah, and then he doing the same thing with Jeremiah. He did it with Moses.
Shalom. Yes, sir. Shalom.
Okay.
Could we also add Solomon's prayer into that?
Well, yeah, well, you can add it in there, but Solomon is, and that's another thing that we're not doing. But Solomon gave us a blueprint on how to return to the Lord. Everybody want to know how we're going to turn to the Lord, and Jesus ain't in it. So let's look at it.
It's a 1 Kings chapter 8, verse 23, I believe.
I'll start at the beginning of the prayer. I think it's chapter 8. Yeah, it says Solomon brought into the temple, Solomon's prayer, verse 22. Says, and Solomon stood before the altar of the Lord in the presence of all the congregation of Israel, spread forth his hands. See that? Ain't that what the Lord of hosts did in Deuteronomy 32? That's what he did in Daniel chapter 12. Spread forth his hands toward heaven. And he said, Lord God of Israel, there is no God like thee in heaven or the earth beneath, who keepeth covenant and mercy with thy servants that walk before thee with all thy heart. So that's a good feed. Who has kept with thy servant David, my father, that thou may have promised him. Thou spakest also with thy mouth, and hast fulfilled it with thy hands, as it is this day. Therefore now, O Lord God of Israel, keep with thy servant David, my father, that thou mayest promise, that thou promised him, saying, there shall not fail a man in my sight to sit on the throne of Israel, so that thy children take heed to their way, that they walk before me as thou hast walked before me. Let me get to the meat. Okay, let me get over here. Yeah, I'm gonna start at 31. 31. If any man trespass against his neighbor, and an oath be laid upon him to cause him to swear, and the oath come before thine altar in this house, then hear thou in heaven, and do and judge thy servant, condemning the wicked to bring his way upon his head, and justifying the righteous to give him according to his righteousness. And when thy people Israel, here you go, when our people Israel be smitten down before the enemy, because they have sinned against thee, and shall turn again to thee and confess. That's why Nehemiah said what he said, and Daniel said what he said. If they confess thy name and pray and make supplication unto thee in this house, then hear thou in heaven and forgive the sins of thy people Israel, and bring them again unto the land. That's what we are the land. Solomon giving you the blueprint, what to do. He says, confess thy name, pray, and make supplication unto this house, then hear thou in heaven, and forgive the sins of thy people Israel, and bring them again into the land which thou gave unto thy fathers. And when heaven is shut up, that's where we at. That's one of the curses. The heavens above is shut off, and the earth beneath is like brass. So he says, when heaven is shut up, and there is no rain, because they have sinned against thee, if they pray toward this place and confess thy name and turn from their sins when thou afflicted them, then hear thou in heaven, forgive the sins of thy servants and of the people of Israel, that thou teach them the good way wherein they should walk, and give rain upon the land which thou have given to thy people for an inheritance. if there be in the land famine, if there be pestilence, blasting, mildew, locusts, that's all this is in Deuteronomy 28. Or if there be caterpillars, if thy enemy besiege them in the land of their cities, wherever, whatsoever plague and whatsoever sickness there be, what prayer and supplication soever be made by any man or by any of thy people Israel, which shall know every man the plague of his own heart, and spread forth his hand toward this house, then hear thou in heaven thy dwelling place, and forgive and do and give to every man according to his ways, whose heart thou knowest. For thou even thou only knowest the hearts of all the children of Israel. So there goes your blueprint right there. Solomon gave you the blueprint. He said when they don't find out who he is, like I said, that's why we waking up. It ain't waking up to put on no damn costumes. We waking up to find out who he is, and then when we find out who he is, pray to him in his name, and stretch forth your hands toward Jerusalem. We ain't doing that because we're too busy dealing with the New Testament. So he says, look what he says. If any man, so what do you mean? Yeah, here you go, 38. What prayer and supplication soever be made by any man or by any other people of Israel. So anybody, whoever the Most High wake up, that takes you back to let me get it. It takes you back to oh, I lost my train of thought. Okay, yeah. So it takes you back to what Daniel had said. He started, once he saw what Jeremiah had prophesied, then he started fasting, praying to the Most High, stretched forth his hands on the help to Jerusalem, and then the Most High heard his prayer. Nehemiah did the same thing. So that's how this works. And it's all about knowing who it is that's the God that's over Israel. And that's what they've done to us by giving us JC and that whole story of the New Testament, because we ain't doing this. We're doing everything but this. Okay. Any comments?
Shalom. Yes, sir. They knew who they were praying to, those specific prayers, because that's exactly what they were. You know, the confessions of the nation's sin, you know, asking him to fulfill his word. They knew exactly who they were praying to. We don't know that now. We have people that can quote the New Testament so fast it'll make your head spin. So, like you said, they still holding on to JC, but all three of these prayers that we referenced were specific prayers to the Most High, the Lord of Hosts. Yeah, and it was confessions of the sins of the nation.
Right, and the biggest part, like I was saying before, they packed a lunch when they went to pray. They pressed in.
Come on.
See what I'm saying? They ain't sit down. They ain't no 15-minute prayer. And then another thing, I mentioned this on several occasions too. That ain't the proper way to pray. Down on your knee, on the ground. That's when you see the angels dealing with the angels. You get down on now with your face to the ground. But when you praying, he says, when you stand up, stretch forth his hands under heaven toward Jerusalem.
Come on.
Come on. So they gotta do it even down to that. You think it's something that don't mean nothing, but that mean everything.
That's big. Yes, sir.
We add backwards. Yeah. So we'll read chapter 2, and then we'll close out.
Yes, sir. Nehemiah chapter 2. And it came to pass in the month Nisan, in the 20th year of Artaxerxes the king, that wine before him. And I took up the wine and gave it unto the king. Now I had not been before time sad in his presence. Wherefore the king said unto me, Why is thy countenance sad, seeing thou art not sick? This is nothing else but sorrow of heart. Then I was very sore afraid, and said unto the king, Let the king live forever. Why should not my countenance be sad, when the city, the place of my father's sepulchres, lieth waste, and the gates thereof are consumed with fire? Then the
Okay,
king.
hold up.
Yes,
I
sir.
want to make a point on this. So let's look at that right quick. So we know what sepulchres are, right? It's graves, right?
Yes, sir.
Sepulchres are graves. They trying to trick you right here. So it's graves. So anyway, let's look at something right quick. I'm gonna go to Ezekiel right quick, because you gotta understand this. This is Ezekiel, okay, chapter 9. Ezekiel chapter 9. Okay. It says, I go here a lot. So it says, he cried also in my ear with a loud voice, saying, Cause them that have charge over the city to draw near, every man with a strong weapon in his hand, right? So who is these men? Behold, 6 men came from the way of the higher gate, which lieth toward the north, and every man with a slaughter weapon in his hand, and one man among them was clothed with linen, and a writer's inkhorn by his side. So one of them got a writer's inkhorn, and they went in, and they stood beside the brazen altar. We know now who this is. These are 7 angels, right? 3, and the glory of the God of Israel was gone up from the cherubim, whereupon he was to the threshold of the house, and he called to the man clothed in linen. This is the point I'm making. He called to the man clothed in linen, which had the writer's inkhorn by his side. And the Lord said unto him, Go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the forehead of every man that sigh, right, and that cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst of Jerusalem. Then verse 5, and to the others he said, in the midst, in my hearing, go ye after him, therefore through the city, and smite, and let not your eyes spare, neither have ye pity. Slay utterly old, young, both maids, little children, and women, but come not nigh to any man upon whom is the mark, and begin at the sanctuary. Then they begin at the ancient men which were before the house. So he told one of them had an inkhorn. He marking every man that sigh and cry, that mourn, they have a heart and yearn for Jerusalem, right? Hello?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay, well, go back. Go back to and read, start at 3. Nehemiah, chapter 2. We already know he's from the good basket of figs, right? Go back now, go to chapter 2, verse 3.
And said unto the king, Let the king live forever. Why should not my countenance be sad, when the city, the place of my father's sepulchres, lieth waste, and the gates thereof are consumed with fire?
So what's wrong with Nehemiah? And he's counting sad, and he's sighing and crying for the Jerusalem. See
Yes,
that?
sir. They're in despair. Yes, sir.
See that? See that right there? That's gonna get you in trouble right here, because so you can't fake this. When you love the Most High, love Jerusalem, love everything about Israel, you can't fake that. And how can you have that kind of love when you don't know what the hell going on? Like I said, if you say you want to have a Bible study, but you funnel with JC, you ain't have no Bible study. Okay, keep going.
Nehemiah chapter 2, verse 4. Then the king said unto me, For what doest request? So I prayed to the God of heaven, and I said unto the king, If it please, and if thy servant have found favor in thy sight, that thou wouldest send me unto Judah, unto the city of my father's sepulchres, that I may build it. And the king said unto me, the queen also sitting by him, For how long shall thy journey be? And when wilt thou return? So it pleased the king to send me, and I set him a time. 7. Moreover, I said unto the king, If it please the king, let letters be given me to the governors beyond the river, that they may convey me over till I come into Judah. And a letter unto Asaph, the keeper of the king's forest, that he may give me timber to make beams for the gates of the palace, which uh, appertained to the house, and for the wall of the city, and for the house that I shall enter into. And the king granted me according to the good hand of my God upon me. Then I came to the governors beyond the river, and gave them the king's letters. Now the king had sent of the army and horsemen with me. 10. When Sanballat the Horonite and Tobiah the servant, the Ammonite, heard of it, it grieved them exceedingly that there was come a man to seek the welfare of the children of Israel. So I came to Jerusalem and was there 3 days. And I arose in the night, and I saw, and 12. And I arose in the night, I and some few men with me. Neither told I any man what my God had put in my heart to do at Jerusalem. Neither was there any beast with me, save the beast that I rode upon. And I went out by night.
So you see that you're on mute, right?
Yes, sir.
So how do you get to Jerusalem? On mute.
On a mute.
Right on the move.
On the coat of an ass. So when you go to Zechariah right quick. So Zechariah in captivity too. All these men, it's a good basket that we see in Jeremiah. So we're in Zechariah chapter 9, right? You there?
Got it.
Zechariah 9. So Zerubbabel, that's the Messiah in Daniel 9:25. He with them. So it says, rejoice greatly, O daughter of Zion. Shout, O daughter of Jerusalem. Behold, thy king, the Zerubbabel, cometh unto thee. He is just, having salvation, lowly. Look what he's doing. Riding upon an ass, the coat of an ass. Ain't Nehemiah on one?
Yes, sir.
There goes Jeremiah. There goes Zerubbabel right there. So, like I said before, when this showed to you, it's on you. After that, it's on you. This ain't nothing on Jesus right here. That's Zerubbabel. Okay, come on, go back.
Nehemiah chapter 2, verse 13. And I went at night by the gate of the valley, even before the dragon well, into the dung port, and viewed the walls of Jerusalem, which were broken down, and the gates thereof were consumed with fire. Then I went on to the gate of the fountain, and to the king and to the king's pool, but there was no place for the beast that was under me to pass. Then went I up in the night by the brook, and viewed the wall, and turned back, and entered by the gate of the valley, and so returned. And the rulers knew not whether I went or what I did. Neither had I as yet told it to the Jews, nor to the priests, nor to the nobles, nor to the rulers, nor to the rest that did the work. Then said I unto them, ye the distress that we are in, how Jerusalem lieth waste, and the gates thereof are burned with fire. Come and let us build up the wall of Jerusalem, that we be no more a. Then I told them of the hand of my God, which was good upon me, as also the king's words that he had spoken unto me. And they said, let us rise up and build. So they strengthened their hands for this good work. 19. But when Sanballat the Horonite, and Tobiah the servant, the Ammonite, and Geshem the Arabian heard it, they laughed us to scorn, and despised us, and said, what is this thing that ye do? Will ye rebel against the king? Then answered I them, and said unto them, the God of heaven, he will prosper us. Therefore we his servants will arise and build, but ye have no portion, nor right, nor memorial in Jerusalem. That was Nehemiah chapter 2.
Right. So before So go to like I said, go to Daniel. So Nehemiah comes after Daniel. You gotta understand that. It comes out. That's why it's like you gonna see now why they got the books like they have them. So I'm in Daniel chapter 9, verse 25. You got it? 9:25. You got it?
Yes, sir.
So see it right here. This is the prophecy that the New Testament. It said it's Jesus. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and build Jerusalem unto the Messiah the Prince, right? They don't never keep going. They stop right there. Messiah the Prince, right? Shall be 7 weeks. 62 weeks. The street shall be built again. Look at that. And the wall, right? See that? See
Yes,
that?
sir.
You make a point. They want to. Everybody want to focus in on the Messiah, but you ain't dealing with the wall. So he says, and the wall. So go back what you just read it. Start at verse 15. Now Nehemiah came back to Jerusalem. He on a donkey. Okay. And I'm in verse 15. It says, then went I up into the night by the brook, and I viewed the wall. There go the wall right there. See that? It's the wall in Daniel 9:25. I viewed the wall, and I turned back, and I entered by the gates of the valley, and so he's doing exactly what Daniel said. He's going back to the wall. He says, the gate of the valley and returned. And then look at this. And the rulers knew not whither I went or what I did. Neither did I as yet tell it to the Jews, nor to the priests, nor to the nobles, nor to the rulers, nor to the rest of nor to the rest that did the work. Right? You're gonna find out what this work is. 17. Then said I to them, ye see the distress that we are in. How Jerusalem, remember Daniel 9:25, how Jerusalem lay waste, and that the gates thereof are burned with fire. Come, let us build up the wall. See that? That's the
Yes,
wall of Daniel
sir.
9:25. Let us build up the wall of Jerusalem, that we may no more be in reproach. Then said I unto them, the hand of my God, which was good upon me, as the king's words that he had spoken unto me, and they said, "Let us rise up, build." So they strengthen their hands for this good word. So like I said before, what good word? The wall. So he made a point in Daniel 9:25. This is how we've been duped. He said the Messiah, but he also said the wall is going to be rebuilt. And we see they're doing exactly that. So if you take these books, put them where they're supposed to be at, you'll see that.
Shalom.
Okay.
Shalom. Also, you said the anointed one. So being anointed is also within that, correct?
Say that again.
I said the anointed one.
Right.
Being anointed. If the Messiah is anointed. So when they talk about JC was never anointed.
Right, but well, if you understand what anointed one is, if you go to 2 Samuel, 1 Samuel chapter 16. Chapter 16.
Got it.
Okay, what verse 1 say?
When David was a little past the summit. Okay, let me get my other book because this one here is the Amplified. Hold on. Is it 2 Samuel 16, sir?
First Samuel
First Samuel 16.
16:1.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. 2 Samuel chapter 16, verse 1. And the Lord said unto Samuel, how long wilt thou mourn for Saul, seeing I have rejected him from regaining,
Raining.
reigning over Israel? Fill thy horn with oil and go. I shall send thee to Jesse the Beth
Bethlehemite.
Bethlehemite, for I have provided me a king among his sons. And
That's it right
Samuel,
there. That's it.
okay,
So notice in that verse, you got king. And
yes,
also, he told Samuel, which is a priest, pour oil on him. That's what anointing means.
yes, sir.
So anointed one only means oil, which is required by the Lord of hosts, is a special oil that they have to pour on the king. That's what anointing means. So the Messiah that's in Daniel 9:25 is the anointed one with the oil on him, which is Zerubbabel. That being pierced in the side and all that, they ain't got nothing to do with the criteria of being anointed. You got to be this all right here. Go to Numbers, Exodus 30. Go to Exodus 30. You gonna read that, Michelle?
$30 and what, sir?
Start at 22.
Okay.
30, Exodus 30 and 22.
Moreover, the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, take thou also.
Who spoke to
Sir?
Moses? Who spoke to Moses?
The Lord, sir.
Okay, the Lord. Okay.
Spake unto Moses, saying, take thou also unto thee principal spices of pure myrrh 500 shekels, and of sweet cinnamon half so much, even 250 shekels, and of sweet calamus 250 shekels. 24. And of cashews 500 shekels, after the shekel of the sanctuary, and the oil, and of oil olive and hin, hin, and thou
That's a
shalt
measurement.
make it.
A hin is a measurement of all.
Okay.
In Israel is a hin. Like we say a pint. We say a hin.
Got you. Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you. 25. And thou shalt make it an oil of holy ointment, an ointment compound after the art of the apothecary. It shall be an holy anointing oil.
That's it.
26.
That's it right there. So there go the ingredients. That's the oil you got to make. That's the oil that they got to pour on the king. That's the oil he just told Samuel to put in the horn and pour it on David. So every king had his oil poured on them. Not no alabaster box and no woman hair rubbing on his legs. This is how you
Right.
anoint him.
Yes, sir.
So the Messiah in Daniel 9:25, this is how he was anointed, which is Zerubbabel. That's all Messiah means. Anointed one. Okay.
Shalom. Thank you.
Right. Okay. Anybody else have anything else before we go?
I was going to say, not that ointment that Mary talking about.
Oh no. That's you got flowers. Like I said, we know that in Book of Adam and Eve, the Greeks, Cain descendants, they went out and found a field where there's a whole bunch of flowers in, and they had orgies. They wanted flowers, and we see the Greeks still doing that today. All through their history, they got flowers, statues everywhere, and flowers, and having orgies. So then flowers ain't got nothing to do with the Messiah that's in Israel. It's this all right here that the high priest and the king got to be anointed with.
Yes, sir. That's still a big celebration to this day. They do every year.
Oh yeah, exactly. They got a modern day name for it. You know what I'm saying? You got to trace it back. Again, they got us throwed off, thinking that it's like Purim. That celebration they doing over there in Israel, Purim. They ain't got nothing to do with Israel. That's pagan. Okay, everybody good?
Brother, then I have a question for Nehemiah chapter 2, verse 20.
Right.
Then answered I them and said unto them, the God of heaven, he will prosper us. Therefore we, his servants, will arise and build. But ye have no portion, nor right, nor memorial in Jerusalem. So does this verse right here, where the adversaries, help was refused, right? Is that connected to Ezra? Or that's
Say it again.
as
Say it
in the
again.
book of Ezra, right? And I'm in
Right.
chapter 4 where the adversary's help was refused,
Right.
where it says verse 3, but Zerubbabel and Josiah and the rest of the chief of the fathers of Israel said unto them, ye have nothing to do with us
Right.
to
Yeah.
build an house. Yes, sir. Okay.
Right. That's in second Ezra.
Right. Okay.
So that goes back, like I was saying, it goes back to seeing how we've been duped. So what is Herod? Ain't Herod the Edomite?
Yes, sir.
How can the temple that he built wasn't no that's not Yahweh temple? That's the temple
Right.
that Jesus came to. And so that's how you know that's how I keep saying over and over. That's how we know Edomites was there. That was them there, and was reigned out in 70 AD. Herod lineage was given safe passage to Spain. So we see in second Ezra and we see right here, they can't build no temple to the Most High.
Come on.
Right.
Shalom. When he said no heritage, that's what that means. When he says after it says no right, no moral, no heritage. So they're not they're not the ancestors of, correct?
Yeah, they're not Israelites. They're Edomites.
Right. Where it says
So
you have no portion, nor right, nor memorial in Jerusalem.
right. You
Yes.
can't build them. You can't go. And so that right there show you all the time they wanted the land. They coveted the land. They wanted the land. So after this, Israel came back and they started back doing the same thing they were doing again. This when they got kicked out for good. When Antiochus came, that's when the Edomites came in behind him in the book of Obadiah. They stole the land. They always wanted it. Right there from when we see those two verses. So they finally got the opportunity to get the land like Isaac told him in the prophecy. It's going to come a time you're going to break your brother yoke off your neck and you're going to have the dominion. Well, that's when they got it. And they built the temple. Let's look at something right quick. Like I said, all this stuff goes over people's head because they don't understand it. So you go to Daniel right quick. Okay? Daniel chapter 11. Daniel chapter 11, start at verse 12. So nobody goes, they skipped over chapter 11 because it ruled out what they be trying to do when they try to connect dots with Daniel and Revelations and Daniel. But anyway, you go to chapter 12, chapter 11, verse 12 says, and when he had taken away the multitude, his heart shall be lifted up, and he shall cast down many, tens of thousands, but he shall not be strengthened by it. 13, for the king of the south, so remember, Alexander died, the third beast, Alexander died, and he gave his kingdom to 4 different kings. King of the north, king of the south, king of the east, king of the west, four men. Ptolemy got Egypt, king of the south. So it says 12, and when they had taken away his multitude, his heart was lifted up, and he shall be cast down many tens of thousands, but they shall not be strengthened by it. For the king of the north shall return and set forth a multitude greater than the former, and he shall certainly come after certain years with a great army and with much riches. We read that in First Maccabees. Now here you go, 14. And in those times there shall many stand up against the king of the south, that's Bartholomew in Egypt. Also, look at this, the robbers of our people shall exalt themselves to establish the vision, but they shall fall. So what's the vision? Solomon built the temple. Zerubbabel built the temple. Well, when they got in the land, they picked it up, the vision. Herod built the temple. See that? And look what he said. They're going to pick the vision up, but they going to fall. They failed in 70 AD. They built the temple and they failed in 70 AD. And he ran them out. And they read right over it. See that? So yes. you say, well, what you talking about? This the trick right here. You say, what you talking about? After reading that, you got to go and make it your business to read Daniel chapter 11 first. Read that, because you know, people can't make sense of it. But my point is that you read Daniel chapter 11, all that's going on in chapter 11. But look what he say in verse 12, chapter 12, verse 8. I'm gonna start at verse 7. And this is the Lord of hosts talking. Daniel 12 and 7. And I heard the man clothed in linen, which was upon the waters of the river. That's the Lord of hosts. When he held up his right hand and his left hand under heaven, and he swore to him that liveth forever, right? Living forever, that it shall be for a time, and half a time. And when he shall have, look at this, when he shall have accomplished to scatter up the power of the holy people, all these things shall be finished. Did he scatter the Israelites?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so everything in Daniel chapter 11 already happened. You can't go from Daniel 11 and go to Revelations. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
He said, read it again. It says, and I heard the man, after you read Daniel chapter 11. So it says, I heard the man clothed in linen, which was upon the waters of the river, and when he held up his right hand and his left hand under heaven to Yahweh, and swore by him that liveth forever, that it shall be for a time. This time, and half a time is all included in after this, before this life gets scattered. See that? We scattered, we over here. So it says, and swore by him that liveth for forever, that it shall be for a time, half time, and when he shall have accomplished to scatter the powers of the holy people, all these things shall be finished. See that? Everything you read in Daniel chapter 11 was finished when he scattered the holy people 2,500 years ago. See that?
Yes, sir.
Right. So imagine that. Like I said before, now you go on TV, look at these nut buckets on TV trying to going back and forth from Daniel 11 to the Revelation. Come on. It's crazy. Ain't that something?
Yes, sir.
So, everybody good?
Yes, sir.
It's an unprecedented day. And let me tell you what I got to say. I got something I want to yell. My dream team is coming. And Michelle.
Okay. Shalom. I'll see everybody tomorrow for reading through it tonight. Okay.
Okay.
Shalom, everyone.
Shalom, everyone.